Right, guys, take your seats. So guys, thanks very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed the short films. Again, it ranges from all sorts of talents from Northern Ireland, two filmmakers, myself. It just shows that what the talent here is like in Northern Ireland. But now we have a very special guest. So this gentleman here is the director and writer, the co-director and writer of the BBC Blue Lights TV show that has been filmed here in Northern Ireland. They have done 2 seasons already, and I think they have 3 more lined up being filmed here. So guys, please welcome Declan Lawn. All right, Declan.
Good to be here, Thomas.
So, Declan, I'm going to just ask you a few questions. So, you had an impressive career in journalism before making the jump into screenwriting and producing. How did your time as a journalist shape the way you approach your storytelling in film and TV?
Good question. So yeah, I was a journalist for 16 years for BBC Panorama and BBC Spotlight. And I think it probably helped me both practically and kind of philosophically, I suppose. Practically, you're still making television, and you have to make it as kind of punchy and entertaining as you can. So I would say, I've never counted them, but I'd say I made maybe 70 or 80 current affairs films. So you learn a lot about telling a story. You learn how to write fast and hit deadlines. But in a more important way, I think it completely influenced the way Adam and I do drama. So what we tend to do is base everything in a lot of research. So I can't overstate how much research we do for Blue Lights. Not just police officers, but all sorts of people, you know, addiction charities, charities who work with immigrants and ethnic minorities. So we just spend maybe 4 or 5 months just meeting people and talking to them. And I always find, in a weird way, it's always the best stuff in Blue Lights, or what people tell me is the best stuff, is stuff that I don't make up. It's stuff that I hear from people and just put it in the show. That's essentially how I write. So there's a big element of journalism in that. So say, there was a phrase that we started using in season 1, which was "take a beat," which came directly from the mouth of a police officer. So all of that stuff, I think journalism is integral to the way that we work. I suppose there must be writers out there who sit in a garden shed or in an attic and who just dream stuff up, but I'm not one of them, and I don't think I...
So a lot of research.
Yeah, like that's, I mean, so the first thing we did was the Salisbury poisonings. You know, we did 4 months living in Salisbury for that. So I think that's just the way we will always work, because we're just not imaginative enough to come up with new stuff. We just have to steal all the good stuff from real people.
Okay, so the next question. So what was the biggest challenge you faced transitioning from journalism to writing for television? And was there a defining moment when you wanted to make that leap into storytelling for screen?
For me, it was starting. I didn't write anything until I was 37 because I was too scared. And I don't know if there's anybody here who identifies with that, but it's a very paralyzing thing. I was always, you know, studied English at college, was always really interested in reading. But at some point in my teens, I lost confidence in my writing. And I'm still not the best analyst of that. I don't know why that was. But I just felt that anything I tried to put down on paper was terrible, and so I stopped. And yeah, I was in my late 30s when the pressure built enough to try and do it. And also meeting Adam was very useful, in that I had somebody else in my life who also wanted to do it. And I remember the first thing we wrote was a short film script, and we sent it to the only person we knew in BBC Drama who was like a trainee script editor. And I remember when she got back and said, "This is really good," I felt like instantly like a kind of dam had broken. And I remember thinking, I am never again going to stop writing, and I never did. But Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody here who's in that position, but it's a tough position to be in. So just starting writing was the hardest. Getting into the industry is as tough as you can imagine. It feels like a bit of like a kind of a citadel. You know, it's just like got ramparts and moats, and nobody wants you to get in. And I would say we wrote maybe a good 7 or 8 projects, you know, with a lot of work that were all turned down before the Salisbury Poisonings was commissioned, which was really maybe we thought number 4 or 5 in terms of things that people might actually greenlight, but they did. It never works out the way you think it's going to work out.
So Blue Lights has received a lot of praise for its authentic portrayal of the lives of Northern Ireland police officers, like we discussed. So what was the inspiration behind the show, and how did you go about creating such an authentic and gritty narrative?
So again, like, television happens in weird ways. So the show was not our idea. There is a great producer in Belfast, some of you guys might know her, called Louise Gallagher. Louise is from Derry and left the BBC and started producing films. And after the Salisbury Poisonings went out, we were in a really, really nice position. The first time ever, after 9 years, of the BBC actually saying to us, we would be interested in what you want to do next. Previously it had been us, you know, hammering on the door, going, please let us make something. But suddenly they were saying, what do you want to do after the Salisbury Poisonings? And just exactly at that time, Louise Gallagher and Stephen Wright came to us with like a 2-page idea about a social worker who joins the police, the PSNI, at 41, because Louise knew somebody very well who had done that. And Adam and I, first of all, pretty much said no. We were very, very trepidatious about it. We just thought, this is the police in Northern Ireland. It's so politicised, it's so difficult. No matter how we write this, there's going to be a lot of people complaining about it. And we just, yeah, man, we were really nervous. And Louise said to us, well, okay, I know 3 response officers. Would you go and at least meet them and have coffee with them over a week? And we did that. And by the Friday night, we were like all in. We were like, we have to make it.
Yeah.
Just because of the things they were telling us about the fact that it's such a unique job here. You don't leave it at the station when you go home. Constant hypervigilance, the strange kind of society in which you're working, and just also, even if you take away all of the political stuff, the things that those people see day to day, the trauma that they experience, from car accidents to, you know, horrible domestic abuse incidents, to like constantly dealing with mental health and addiction, and the toll that takes on you. For us, so we were suddenly like, we went from being unbelievers to being men of faith in 5 days. We were like, you know what, let's just make it, and if people hate us, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be haters, isn't that right?
Yeah, there are, although I've been very surprised that the show has been broadly accepted, you know, across all communities, as far as I can see.
I was going to say, so obviously recently it had that, almost had like a big reception in America. The Americans seems to love it. Is that true?
Yeah, they do like it.
Obviously I think I saw that you went over there to screen Blue Lights season 1.
Yes.
What was their perception about our culture and the way that the police works here compared to their police system?
It's interesting. There were decades when police shows were all the rage in America, and the police were just uniformly heroes. And there is definitely a kind of political sense now in America where there's a kind of pro-police, anti-police thing that tends to divide along political lines. So it was interesting going over to New York and showing a cop show, but the audience that we screened it to really enjoyed it, and then it's on this platform called BritBox. Apparently it's doing really well, and I think part of this is that the show is It's absolutely hyper-local. It doesn't make any compromises whatsoever in terms of how people speak or what's happening here. We never explain anything very deliberately. We don't try and give people a history lesson on Northern Ireland, because they think as soon as you start doing that, you lose the room and people feel the artifice of that. So we said to the BBC at the start, if people don't understand what we're talking about, they're going to have to Google it, because we're not going to tell them. And so there's something about that uncompromising nature that people then in other countries love, because those are the shows I love. Like, I love The Wire. That doesn't compromise. I mean, you have to watch it with subtitles because you don't understand the jargon. Same in Blue Lights. I imagine the Americans are watching it with subtitles, and even then it's difficult. But there's something about that absolute commitment to hyperlocalism that Lisa McGee showed in Dairy Girls as well, where it doesn't put other audiences off. They actually like it.
It seems to be like they almost like come to like appreciate our culture and the way that we act and the way that we, you know.
Totally, and I feel the same about, like, I love this French show called The Bureau. I don't watch television to see what I know. I watch it to see places and people and things that I don't know. The other thing, the reason I think it resonates in other countries is it's a character drama.
Yeah.
It's basically it's a family show.
Yeah.
It just happens to be about the police,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but it's really about a family.
Yeah, awesome. So speaking of Blue Lights, so I think we might have talked about this, but I'm going to ask anyway. So in Blue Lights, you bring a lot of Northern Ireland issues like crime, violence, social struggles into focus. How did you incorporate the complex dynamics of the community into the show?
Well, I think if you grow up here, like I was born in Derry in 1976, you're just imbued with it all. So a lot of the stuff I think that people detect in the show might be subconscious, and then some of it is conscious. I had a kind of a relatively odd upbringing in that my family are outsiders here. My mum and dad were from Galway and Donegal, and they moved to Derry in 1974 in the craziest decision that I've ever heard. They worked in the bank. So they landed in Derry, and they were complete political ingenues. They didn't know anything really. They were kind of, you know, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. That was their mentality. They watched the RT News. And so, unlike all my classmates in Derry, where you kind of grow up learning things at your mother's knee, I didn't really learn a lot about the North, and I felt like I knew a lot about the South. So there was a certain outsiderness that I think sometimes when I read the biographies of other writers, I see, oh, these people move around a lot. So Derry, Limavady, Ballymena, then Dublin, then back to Belfast. So there was always a sense in which I felt I was looking at my own home from the outside, and I still feel a little bit like that when I'm writing Blue Lights. And Adam came from like a Protestant background. His dad was a prison officer. They had a gun in the house, so a lot of the stuff about like hypervigilance and threat and worry, that comes out of his experience. So yeah, I guess I would say a lot of it's kind of maybe subconscious, and then 16 years in journalism here.
Kind of like helped you as well.
Yeah, you experience a lot, like.
Yeah. So obviously the whole point of this short film is to spread awareness about addiction, especially in drugs and alcohol. So the issue of drugs, particularly in relation to crime and the economy, is a huge concern here in Northern Ireland. How did you integrate the reality of drug use and its impact on both individuals and communities into the narrative of Blue Lights?
Well, when you're writing a crime show, you can't avoid it, because the drugs trade is the engine room of criminality, the financial engine room. There is no getting away from it. There are obviously other big crimes like, you know, human trafficking, extortion, but not on the scale of the drugs trade. That's what gives drugs traffickers, drugs gangs, all of their clout, their ability to buy weapons, their ability to pay people. So, you know, sometimes people say to us, oh, you know, season 1 was about drugs, season 2 is about drugs, season 3, I'll let you in on a secret, is about drugs. But it's also about the kind of, without giving too much away, but soon as you all come out on a cold Tuesday night, I'll give a wee bit away. It's about the kind of professional enablers of criminality. The people who have nice houses, nice jobs, nice cars, who turn a blind eye, but who know that what they're doing is illegal, and you know, all that. So So I feel that in every season of Blue Lights, I'd like to see a little snippet of different snippets of the city,
Yeah.
and that's where we're going in season 3.
So the themes of addiction and its intersection with crime are central to both Blue Lights and of course our short film. How do you think television can best address these difficult topics in a way that is both truthful and impactful for audiences, especially to those who might be personally affected?
I like to think that it would be good to show those who are addicted without judgment.
Yeah.
So many people are addicted to something.
Yeah.
It might be a physical substance or it might be an abstract thing. But in a way, I see addiction as some kind of integral facet of the human personality. And I think everyone, to some extent, suffers from some version of it. Big spectrum. But so I think what we try to do in Blue Lights, whether we're showing people who take drugs or alcohol or who have mental health problems, is we try and I literally mean this, we go and talk to people in that position and try to represent them without moral judgment. I think that's important. And similarly, we do that politically too. Like, you know, when we inhabited a loyalist community in season 2, and I had already a lot of contacts in loyalism because I'd done a lot of documentaries there. And I spent a lot of time talking to people about the things that bothered them and tried to represent them in a way where there's you know, people dealing with a lot of crap, and I hope we were successful. I mean, I did speak to a lot of them afterwards, and they felt, you know, that was kind
represented in the best
fair.
right?
Yeah, and also the other way that you find out is like we should Blue Lights in the communities in which we represent. So if we're shooting a scene in the loyalist area, we go to a loyalist area, and all the flags you see on the show are real, and similarly in Republican areas. So as the show goes on, we'll find out what they think, because they won't let us back.
So when you're tackling sensitive issues like addiction, mental health or crime, what kind of research do you do to ensure that depiction feels both authentic and responsible? And then can you share moments during the writing or production of Blue Lights where you felt you were learning something new or uncovering new perspectives on these issues?
Yeah, I'll give you one example of that. It's not about addiction, but it's about the past and legacy, right? But it's the same premise about research. So myself and Hannah McLean, who plays Jen, and Paddy Jenkins, who plays Happy, went up to the Wave Trauma Centre in North Belfast and spent time with people who had lost people in the Troubles. And it was, I had done that before. I've met a lot of victims of the Troubles through my work, right? But there was something special about that day. And we went up and talked to everybody about what it's like, about the Legacy Act, about engaging with the courts, about what it's like to lose someone, say, like 52 years ago and feel like it happened yesterday, which is how Happy feels. And it was a really emotional day. When they were showing us around the kind of peace garden at the back, like Hannah was in tears. She won't mind me saying that. Like she was just in tears. And when I finished the scripts and we came on the set, the three of us had a little special bond because we had done that. And we were like, let's make this worthy of those people we met. And those two actors, I think all of my favourite scenes in Blue Lights season 2, even though it's what you might term a kind of a B story, you might say that, but it's the most important story for me, and I think that those two just knocked it out of the park. And I think part of the reason they did that, there's a lot of crying in their scenes, a lot of emotion, and part of the reason they were up for doing that was because they'd kind of been there. It comes back to what I said at the start. It's like, I can't write without that. Like, I just can't. I would never write a Game of Thrones because I don't know how to do it. I literally have to sit with people and look in the whites of their eyes and get a sense of them, and then go home and usually think about it for a few weeks, and then finally sit down and go, like, what's the essence of what I saw there, like.
So, storytelling in many ways can speak real social change. Do you believe that the way addiction is portrayed on screen, especially in shows like Blue Lights, and of course our short film, can help change how society views and responds to issues like drug abuse and addiction?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I very much agree with the premise there. Like, storytelling does change minds. I think there's a lot of shows coming out of Northern Ireland at the minute that are giving different narratives and questioning narratives. You know, Say Nothing, Dairy Girls. There's a lot of shows that are coming to terms with this place, right? And whether it's about addiction or any social issue, the answer is yes. Like, we had a minor character played by Dave Elliott in season 2. He did a brilliant job. He's a guy who suffers mental health problems and he can't get a mental health appointment, and his response is violence, right? And so many people came to talk to me after that about that specific problem, and it's just a line. It's almost a throwaway line. Shane says to Annie, like, he hasn't been able to get a mental health appointment in 7 months, and she's like, oh, fuck's sake, or whatever. But that, even something as relatively minor as those 2 calls that they go to, like, I mean, I must have had maybe 20 emails from people saying, that happened to me, that happened to me. So yeah, storytelling's important.
Yeah, it's very important. So this is actually a question again, I guess, for the audience in a way. So for any filmmakers or screenwriters in the room tonight, what advice would you give them about telling powerful and authentic stories?
So I would just say this, like, filmmaking and making TV shows takes a lot of energy. It's not working down a coal mine, it's not the worst job in the world, but it takes a lot of energy. And if you're going to expend that energy, I think it really does have to matter to you. You know, to get up at 5 and be on set at 6 and do whatever it is, 10 hours, and then if you're directing, have 3 hours of meetings after that about the next day, right? If you're doing that about a show and it doesn't really matter to you, or you think it's a bit of popcorn, or it's kind of bullshit, or it's like, it's, you know, just entertainment, right? That is going to be torturous. And we haven't felt that yet, because all the things we've done, we felt like this really matters. Like, we feel Blue Lights really matters. We felt Salisbury really mattered. Our short film Rough, we felt it really mattered. It was kind of like, these are important things to say. So therefore, when you're standing in the rain with a wet sandwich, you're like, okay, but, like, you know, this is important. Like, it's important for us to do this. And I just hope we never, do it for something that we don't love and feel important. I don't think we will. Depends on the money. If the money's good on it. No, but I really don't think we will. And I would just say to anyone who wants to be a filmmaker is make sure that it shows you on screen, your unique perspective, that you really care about it, and then expending all the energy will be worth it. Just don't compromise on that.
And I think that's why, I mean, I'm just going off topic here, but like, for myself as a filmmaker, I kind of like base stuff again, like around social issues or things that have been affected me in my past. The last film there, Memories of Us, so that was based around a family friend of mine who has been suffering with Parkinson's, and obviously with Parkinson's comes, you know, the memory loss. And so in a way, for me, I feel like writing stuff that I know I really, really care about really helps me write. I'm guessing, again, like, that's probably the same for you. Yeah.
Yeah, like totally. Like what else is there to write about than what you care about? And I think, say, when we did our very first short film, Rough, we did that because for years and years and years, Adam and I, working as journalists here, we couldn't get over the absurdity, and I use that word like specifically, of the continued existence of paramilitary style attacks. We were like, this is fucking crazy that this is still happening. And incidentally, it's happened more in the last 2 or 3 years since we made that film. I hope it didn't give anyone ideas, but, it's happened more. It's happening more And it always felt to us completely bonkers, right? But we could not find the way to tell it. We were just like, if we make a really miserablest, grim drama about this, people aren't going to want to watch it or have it in their film festivals. So we came up with the idea of doing basically an absurdist comedy about a dog who is sentenced to death, and his owner is trying to stop paramilitaries from killing the dog and offers himself up. And so basically, it's kind of a love story between a boy and his dog. But that film, it really took off around the world, right? It traveled the world, it won all these awards, and we were like we were so happy that issue, because the thing that everyone asked us about, we never got to travel with the film because it was during COVID, so everything was on Zoom. But on all those Zooms with all those journalists, they were like, so is this really still a thing or not? And we were just like, yes, like we found a way to kind of get that stuff across. So anyway, that's a very, very long-winded way of saying, yeah, like find something you care about or you think is important and just go for it, like.
Lovely. So final questions before we do asking the audience. So as a storyteller, what kind of stories are you hoping to tell in the future? Are there other areas of Northern Irish life or social issues you're eager to explore through your writing?
That is a really great question, Thomas. So I don't have a specific answer for you, right? Because for me and Adam, like Blue Lights seasons 3 and 4 are all consuming at the moment, and I mean all consuming, and there's not going to be a very big gap between 3 and 4, so as soon as we write these scripts in the new year, we're straight on to the next season, which is good for people who like Blue Lights and bad for me. So it's very difficult for me to kind of step back and see beyond that, other than to say that when we talk about the future, we always talk about continuing to make stuff that is based in real life and authentic and probably contemporary, definitely character drama, definitely based, not plot first, character first. So we know the kind of thing, but we don't know the thing. Yeah.
Lovely. Right. So if you want to take this mic on.
Sure.
So raise your hands if you want to ask a question. I'll give the mic. Cool.
So you were saying about how quickly you put out content now, that you used to be a journalist and it taught you to write quickly. How do you write so quickly and know that it's going to be good in a way? Like,
it's never good. I mean, I'm on draft 21 of episode 1 of Blue Lights season 3. So write quickly, get it down. But I was just saying to Lucy earlier, like all writing in television is rewriting, constantly going on it, constantly taking notes from BBC executives and production company executives, sometimes fighting them, like sometimes dying on a hill and saying, no, I disagree. But most of the time, they are good notes and you're assimilating them. So I never worry in the first 4 or 5 drafts about quality, never worry. It's literally just splashing down all the ideas in a few scenes. But if I were to show you now draft 1 of Blue Lights season 3 and draft 21, the two are, I don't know if a single line survives or a single scene. It's just constant rewriting. And you just have to, you can't be precious about that. You know what, there's no such thing as a precious good screenwriter. There's no such thing. Because if you're constantly saying to people, no, that's it, I'm not changing it, this is what, it's going to be bad television. Like. So yeah, don't worry about it being good.
Anyone else? Connor?
Do you fear AI take over from writers or filmmakers at all?
So that's a really good question, and it's the kind of question that if you recorded me now and I said no, I don't really fear it, and you played it back in 5 years when I'm on the dole, then I might be embarrassed. But I think that all art is human connection. You know, whether it's a poem or a play or a novel, it's about a human who's experienced something that it is to be human, and it touches another human. And that's when I'm reading a good novel and you feel that connection. There's nothing else like it in the world. So I think simply by virtue of the fact that the AI is not human, having a human experience, I can't imagine how you would ever feel that connection. You know, I feel the same way about music. There might be certain types of music that it might be good at generating, but it's not going to be Leonard Skinner Freebird. You know, it's not. So I don't worry about the essential creative aspect of it, but I do think it's fundamentally about to change TV and filmmaking. Like those, you know, those AI engines where you can type in the video engines where you can go show me a 16th century alleyway in Tokyo, and it does, and it's really not too bad. I think there will maybe be different ways of visualizing content and work, but I think if you don't have the human experience at the start of it, at the heart of it, and real actors, ideally in real locations, I can't imagine that there's not going to be a situation where you're watching it thinking it's lacking soul. But I think one of the things the writers, and I'm not totally conversant with this, but one of the things the American writers were worried about was, you know, in a writer's room where you get 10 writers together and everyone's spitting out ideas. If the AI gets to a point, as it probably will, where the AI can spit out 50 ideas in 50 seconds, I could see how that would be a problem for the writer's room system for sure, yeah. So I think a mixed bag. I think it is going to change everything, but I don't think it's going to change having a person behind it. I hope not, anyway.
Anyone else?
Hey, Declan, how's it going? My name's Sohaib and I'm a big fan of your work, obviously. Yeah, I had a question there more about directing. So when you're working with actors, do you feel like, do you let them sort of do their own thing, let's say for the first take, and then do you just give them like some pointers, or does it have to be like, what you envisioned then? And do you have to like basically, get them to do exactly what you want, or like how does it work?
It's a very, very good question. So I think from what I hear, that we run a fairly liberal environment on Blue Lights where we would like actors to try things, and if they want to bring something to a take, we'd like them to try it. That also includes at times they might say to us before a take, I don't, this line feels a bit weird coming out, what if I change it to this? And we would always listen and do a take where they can do that. So I like the idea of it being a collaboration with actors. So I have 3 stories about that, which I'll tell in the very quickest way possible. So the original character of Stevie Neal in Blue Lights was written very differently. He was this big macho dude. I always had a line in my head that Stevie goes jet skiing in Portrush at weekends, right? I was like, that's who he is. Big kind of macho guy, and quite flip, quite glib, quite, good looking, but like, and then we'd written scenes and sent them out for auditions, and Martin McCann came in and did this like extraordinarily quiet, reserved, soulful, almost sad audition. And Gilles was our director in season 1, wonderful French director. And he said to me, look, is this, sorry for the accent, but look at this. He's like, this man has lost something, right? Talking about Marty's audition. And I was like, fuck yeah, he has lost something. What do we think he's lost? Like, maybe he's a widower. And so Martin got the job, and then I went and rewrote the whole character in all 6 scripts to make him a different person. So that is a good example of how an actor can change a show. And then the other example is, there's one of my favourite scenes in season 1 is where Jerry says to Tommy, don't go looking for trouble, son, trouble's going to come looking for you. And he tells a story of how Happy lost his father and his brother in the bomb attack. And then he says at the end, he's like, I was the wee lad that was with him, right? Now, that wasn't, Jerry was never with him, he just knew him, right? But Richard rang me the night before filming and said, like, I've got a bit of an idea here. Like, what if Jerry was actually present in the car during the bomb, so they're bound together deeper? And I was like, shit, Richard, that's really good, you bastard. So I I rang Stephen, the producer, and we got on a conference call, and I was like let's try it. Let's do a take with it. And as soon as we saw it in the edit, we were like, oh my God, yes, that makes it so much better. So I like to think we run a fairly liberal environment where actors can suggest stuff and we will say yes. I don't pay them anymore though.
Thank you so much.
I think we have time for just one more question. Yeah.
Do you have a specific routine that you find your best work comes out? Like, for example, Shonda Rhimes says she has to be at a desk with headphones on, like out of the world. Do you find a specific writing routine or things you need to write?
No. I'm quite chaotic. Yeah. So I was talking to Ronan Bennett at the Media Festival last week, and he says he's at his desk at 7 every morning. He works till about 2 or 3 maybe, and then but he says I have to do that every day basically. So I'm not. No, I will walk the dog and walk around and like make lots of coffee and do all sorts of stuff. But I used to kind of hate myself for that and think it was procrastination. And then I thought, you know what, actually, it's kind of percolation. It's kind of, this is when everything's settling. That at least is the lie that I have invented to tell the producers. So if they say, I saw you out for a walk the other day with your dog, I go, yeah, but that's me writing, guys. And so there is a lot of, I wish I was the kind of writer who was just 9 a.m. every morning until whatever time, but I'm not really. Sometimes I might not do any actual typing Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday just have 11-hour frenzies. But I was like that in journalism, I was like that in college writing essays, I was like that in primary school, so I don't think I'm ever going to change.
All right, guys, so I think that's all the questions we have for Declan. Give him a big round of applause.